Because SmackDown had their stars, Raw had theirs. You were tuning into Raw and you were tuning in SmackDown if you were a SmackDown fan, or Raw if you were a Raw fan. And it worked. Why do I say split up the roster? Because it needs to be split. I know you're saying there's not enough talent, but there is. It's just not used right. I could go into the other plot lines, but it would be a long story to tell, because I would have feuds within the plot lines. I would have feuds within the plots. I would have faction versus faction, and then I would create where somebody jumps a faction, somebody becomes a part of another faction, and it would start like that. And also, I would have the Wyatts come out, attack Cesaro, and the new members of the Horsemen. And I also would have Bray Wyatt become champion. Why do I do this? Because they need a heel who could run the show. They dropped the ball with a lot of their wrestlers. However, Bray maintains his stay as a heel. And he's going to be the next Undertaker. I'm not a fan of his philosophy, but he is a heel. And I'll push him as that. And then with Four Horsemen, new Four Horsemen, and the Wyatts, it would be a good feud. And eventually down the line, after Bray holds his belt, he would drop it to Dolph Ziggler, who has been down pushed for a very long time. I'll repackage him under a new gimmick. Something where he was more like Ric Flair. And that would work. As I wrap this up, I'm discussing how these plot lines unfold. And of course, these storylines are going to be intermingled, and they're going to be built up with weeks. And you're going to have interest in tuning into it again. It's not going to be like, the Authority thing. I think it's time to kill the Authority program. Kill the Authority plotline. Why? Because as much of it as I hated in the beginning, it worked because you had Daniel Bryan to make it work. You wanted to root for him. This plotline right now is just sad. You don't want to root for Sheamus. You don't want to boo Sheamus or root for him. You don't even care about Roman Reigns. Some people do, some people don't. It's just he won't draw that money that someone like an Ambrose would, or a Ziggler would, or someone like that. It's just they have these hand-picked people that they want. And that shouldn't be the case. Because what made wrestling great was you have people with the ball and they can run. And I'm going to get to this. In the NWA and the Jim Crockett promotions, you had wrestlers that could go. They all could go, they all ran, and the Federation was great. They knew how to put on a plot line. They knew how to build up a wrestler. And that is one thing that's lacking nowadays in wrestling. They lack putting in time to build that character. They just throw them to the wolves. And when they want to push them, they force it. Now, I've been watching wrestling for a very long time. And I've known plots. With Hogan, what made Hogan work was he had the charisma, he had the style in the ring, you were expecting him to win, and he was a dominant face to get over with the crowd. Now you had heels as champs, you had Cena as champ, you had Ric Flair as champ, but bottom line, wrestling needs that change. It needs to be brought back to where there was managers, GMs, whatever you need to do, but they don't want to go back to those days. They just want to rehash crappy plot lines because people will watch it. Now, it's like society nowadays. Society will settle with crap rather than actually fulfilling their dream, which is what I talk about heavily in this program. Society is settling with crap, and they speak volumes about what they want, but the corporations won't give us what they want. We have retail companies opening on Thanksgiving when they just give you a blank you to your family members who want to spend time with you during that holiday. And let me ask you this. Why would somebody really want to shop at somewhere who's taking one of your family members away for that holiday? Now I know I'm shifting gears here for a second, but it's the same thing of saying, why would you root for somebody who took away the chances of somebody you rooted for? It just does not make sense. And I'm going to wrap up this podcast by saying it's a damn shame that they don't have the great stories of the past. The great stories of the past were mythological. They built up a bad guy. They built up a good guy. Even though JYD wasn't a champ, he felt like a champ. He acted like a champ. Tito Santana was great. He was a great wrestler. Also, they had a lot of other talent too. Roddy Piper, he was never the champ, but he acted like he belonged there. And other guys as well. And for them not to get there, when I clearly see what they can do, I don't know. Maybe we'll settle. Maybe we'll keep on watching, knowing what we watched before in the past was good. Maybe we'll just settle, praying that the next day or the next pay-per-view will be better. I'm your host, Joseph Evaldi, and this has been Money, the business, inspiration, and now wrestling podcast with your host, Joseph Evaldi.